Greetings and salutations, Dave Duford here. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Welcome to my Ask Me Anything live Q&A call where you have the questions and I have all of the answers, all of them, at least when it comes to selling and marketing insurance successfully. It's a pleasure to have you on. If this is your first time on the call, let me give you a little bit of a rundown of how to participate and get the most value out of it. So you can see on the side of YouTube, there's a live chat. I'm watching this very closely for your questions. You are more than welcome to ask any kind of questions that you'd like about anything related to selling insurance successfully. So maybe you have questions about scripting, which products to sell, or you're looking at selling, how to pick a good agency, also marketing questions, anything. This whole hour or so is dedicated specifically to you. Even if you're not interested in joining the DIG Agency, it's my way of giving back to help you guys learn more about the business. So it's a pleasure to have you here. And before we get started, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a rundown on a cool experience I had over the weekend. So we actually got together a good bit of our top producers in Miami, some DIG Agency top producers, and talk shop over an open bar one night and then a breakfast the following morning. And it was actually a really good experience, first of all, just to see everybody. You know, we're also terminally online these days. Actually interacting with real people and real agents in our company is a fantastic thing. And hearing them kind of talk about their experiences, what's good, what can be improved, etc., is a great thing. And I came away with a couple of takeaways that I wanted to share with you I think will be useful for anybody that's considering selling insurance, or maybe you already are and you're just always looking for ways to get better. You know, we talk a lot about the basic things that are really important to master, like figuring out your agency, doing your due diligence, figuring out your niche, etc. But sometimes you don't spend as much time on some of the things that, what do you do after you're successful or at finding a good agency and you've done the work, etc. So I wanted to spend a few minutes kind of talking about some things that I picked up and kind of had some good thoughts on just in interacting with, again, top producers who've been even with us since the very beginning of the Free Lead Agency, and things that I think I want to share with you that might help you if you're getting started, or even if you've been doing this for a while. One thing that I heard from Marcus is one of our top producers, is the impact when selling remotely from home, because that's all we do at the DIG Agency now. It's all we recruit as agents to sell remotely from home, is the impact of having a predefined space separate from home to optimize their work capacity and effectiveness. You know, this is a thing that I've heard a couple of times throughout the years. We've been really heavy in the remote sales since COVID all started back in 2020. And this has come up a couple of times, especially with top producers. And you wouldn't think this if you're getting started in this business, but if you give this some careful thought, you realize working from home absolutely has its benefits, but it has serious drawbacks. And there's something about going to work, to an office, to a call center, like physically removing yourself from your home, that it, for a lot of people, helps them put blinders on and focus on the task at hand, which is selling. You also have bosses breathing down your back and stuff like that, right? But the physical act of being at work for a lot of people raises the bar, raises the standard, and allows people to dial in and focus and be successful. By the way, if you're getting here, feel free to throw your questions in the chat. I'm going to get to them after a little story time here. And so what Marcus was saying is that early in his career, I should say last year really, he had a designated office space where he went to that office to actually put in the time to work, to get on the phone, to do the activities, etc. But now he doesn't. He doesn't have an office, or he doesn't go to the office. And he was kind of talking about how this actually affected him negatively in the sense of his ability to focus, to put in the hours that are necessary to maximally get the most out of the business, and how he's looking actively right now, I believe, for an office space to make this happen. And so if you're getting started in remote sales, this would be a huge recommendation. You know, you don't realize this stuff till you're in it, but having a designated space where you can be distraction free is absolutely critical. If I were back on the phone right now and I was selling full time, I've got a detached garage. I would put my office in that garage. I would put a lock in from the inside so nobody could bother me. And I would like put a line in the sand that nobody can mess with me for the pre-designated time that I'm supposed to be finding people and getting their money and selling them insurance, right? So if you're easily distracted or you feel obligated being at home and there's dishes, there's laundry, there's stuff to do, and it's like nagging at you, think about maybe putting yourself outside of your physical home where you can feel as if you're at work, because you are. And you got to make that separation. I knew one lady, Melissa, she would say, I stopped working at home. I got an office space. I would get dressed up like I was going to work to just go to this office and get on the phone. And for her, psychologically, it was enormously beneficial. So sometimes we have to play these tricks on ourselves in order to get us to be successful. Another thing, it's kind of ironic too. You know, we all want this. A lot of us are here, have this entrepreneurial drive. We want to be successful, want to do our own thing. We don't want a boss. We don't want to show up at a pre-designated time. But the irony of it all is, in some ways, you have to apply that standard to yourself when you're on your own, even though you don't want it from someone else. You should be applying, like, I'm going to start work every day at this time. I'm going to end it on these days at this time, and it's non-negotiable. The thing is, now you don't have an authority figure like a boss dictating and threatening you with losing your job. You have to do it yourself. So, but as much as we try to escape that, applying those principles for a lot of you out there will actually get you better results. So you have to have the discipline, the self-discipline, to apply these kind of principles in practice so that, you know, you get results and you continuously get results. And that's kind of a bigger thing, I think, that we leaned on in this conversation too, is that there's a different set of challenges for the person coming into this business and how they can get success versus the person who is going to make a lasting commitment to this business. In other words, you guys out there who are new, you've heard enough from me probably. You know, do your due diligence, find an agency, a product, blah, 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 blah. But what's challenging is being able to show up daily for, at first, days, weeks, then months, quarters, and years on end, doing the same work over and over and over, despite having fantastic runs and just absolutely pitiful runs where you're ice cold. And a lot of it starts first off as like a methodology technical issue, like what's the best script, where's the best leads, where's the best agency. But a lot of that eventually, if you have all that, it eventually shifts over to what goes on up here between your ears and the whole mindset thing. And I'm not a big mindset guy in the sense of putting content out to motivate you, but I have found over time in the recruitment world, like in developing agents beyond their first month or two and them seeing success, like how do you sustain that success? And, you know, it's really one of those things where everybody's got unique challenges. Like maybe it's the commitment issue. And you don't really know what it is until you get into it. You know, you might find yourself really depressed because you get chargebacks and that has an impact on you. So you have to kind of cultivate a personal strategy with dealing with people who say no to you or reject you or who don't make their payments, you know, but you have to show up. And this is the thing. How can you make sure that you can show up day by day by day, regardless of if it's good, bad, or ugly in the previous day? I can give you some tips. I mean, for me, the one thing that helped me out tremendously was developing short-term amnesia. I woke up every morning enthralled that I had a great opportunity to go make money because I knew what was happening that day had zero bearing on my success, and in most cases, when I was upset, the failure of the prior day. Just because you had a few bad phone calls with your clients and didn't make any sales doesn't mean the next ones have to. So if you can wake up and not let yesterday's burdens weigh on you, you're in a tremendously beneficial space. What else is good? Having a sense of faith is really important, that things will work out if you have a full commitment to the business and you have a full, how can you say, commitment to improvement, looking for ways to get better. You're going to, even the best agents have really bad months, really bad quarters sometimes, usually not that bad. It may be a bad month. But the nature of our business being one called close and final expense, you can usually recover from that. But even great agents have bad periods of time. And it's how you deal with that and kind of your mindset, your commitment to believing in yourself and the systems that really is a separation between being successful and not. And these are things that are really hard to cultivate. Like I said, everybody experiences it. And, be prepared for that, I guess, is where I'm going with this, is that is the long-term struggle. There's no business that doesn't have struggle, and it's never going to be not frustrating. And so you need to be absolutely prepared. So in short, it was a good event. I can talk more about it if you have any specific questions about, kind of the conversations we had, what agents were talking about. But the big thing here is know thyself. You're getting into a world where there's no bosses in most cases. There's nobody breathing down your back. You're going to set your own schedule, work as much or as little as you'd like, and you will suffer the consequences of any decisions that you make. And you won't ever be in a position where you'll be free from frustration or difficulty. That is the challenge of this business, is overcoming the adversity and learning to cope when times are tough. So, and that is the challenge of every agent who makes it past the first couple of months and gets into a sustainable longer-term career. Okay. We're always hiring constant crypto. If you have a pulse and you're interested in selling, I encourage you to apply. We pretty much take everybody unless you're some sort of narcissist jerk off. That's not most people. Maybe about 5% of you. Most of you aren't. And you're encouraged to apply, but if you're a jerk, no, go somewhere else. That's about our only restriction. We're always looking for good people to work with us. Okay. Hey, Tom, would you recommend a dedicated email account and a dedicated phone for agents? I mean, yeah, you can. To what extent you use email and how important it is varies by the niche, but it's pretty simple. Just go to GoDaddy.com or iPage.com, buy a domain, register an email with it. If you don't know how to do all that stuff, usually their customer service can do it for you. You can hire some talent on Upwork.com to do it. And then same thing with the phone number. If you put in like buy a phone number, I don't know if you need to even buy a phone number, you could create a Google Voice number and then have that be your work number and have calls go there. One thing I would highly recommend you don't do is allow business calls to port directly to your phone. I'm a big advocate in disconnecting or having like a separation of work and personal life. I don't think your work should become your personal life. And I don't think you should be willing to take calls at like 8, 9, or 10 o'clock at night. Unless, you don't have a family and you don't have kids. And, okay, maybe that's a little different. But if you got your own life and you want to like separate yourself from it, I think that's really important. Or otherwise, if you let your number that you constantly use be out there for anybody and everybody to call, like you're never going to have a moment's peace, and it's going to eventually frustrate you. So that way you can walk away when it's necessary. Oh yeah, please hit the like button if you haven't already. Please subscribe to as well if you haven't. Appreciate it. Tom says, also, could you recommend a program like QuickBooks in advance of record keeping for tax purposes? Yeah, just QuickBooks. That's what I use. I mean, it's sufficient. Most of the time now, your major bank accounts can just import directly into QuickBooks. So whenever a transaction is registered, it will just port directly to QuickBooks. It's marginally, it's affordable. Use QuickBooks, and it does the job. You really don't need anything else. And then Schwab, hey Schwab, who do you recommend for Medicare leads and the type of leads? I've been out of the Medicare business for probably 2 or 3 years, although a lot of my content still performs. Direct mail still performs to some extent. I know there's some people that do Facebook leads, but I really can't tell you like this type of lead, this style of content and scripting plus whatever vendor is the way to go. I just don't know enough. All right. Let's see. Hey, NCC. May I please have the contact information? Yeah, if you go to davidduford.com, there's a video you can watch. It will explain how everything works in detail with the DIG Agency. We highly recommend that you watch that first. It's 50 minutes long, and I know attention spans are terrible these days, but what's even worse than that is joining any company, including mine, and it's not what you thought it was. So we put that video out there to make sure that you're as informed as possible about what to expect. So when you do join, if it is a good fit, you're not surprised by anything, because you've been fairly warned what to expect and what we expect and how things work. So watch that. Then from there, you can apply, or you can join a Q&A call to ask questions. So there's a couple of things you can do there. All right. And by the way, if you guys are joining, open mic Q&A, throw questions in the chat. I'll be here for up to an hour to answer all of them. Okay, cool. So questions, throw them out there. All right, Gabe. Hey, Gabe. Maybe I've already asked this. Do you know nothing about insurance advertising masters? Oh, let's see here. Hey, Suzanne. Insurance, who runs it? Gabe. I'm going to pull them up on YouTube, see if I can find them. I think that's that dude. What's that dude's name? Somebody tell me that guy's name. He's been around for years. He's probably Justin Thomas, right? Justin Thomas. I think, what's his name? Peter Roberts had a review on his product. I think he hated it. That was a long time ago. I don't know if he pulled it off. I haven't seen that video in a while. I don't know much about Justin. I think I interviewed him way back early on. Like, if you put in Justin Roberts to Ford, you probably will see an interview with an old business partner of his. I don't know anything about it. I know I think it's a high ticket course, right? And it teaches you how to do Facebook marketing, I think. I don't know. So my take on it, Gabe, the problem with marketing, and there is something to be said if you're buying your own leads and you have a broker approach to this business, that self-generation of leads is really the best route. But part of the problem you're going to experience is that if you do all of the work in the business, eventually whatever your primary money-making activity is going to be distracted by some $10, $15 an hour profession or job that somebody else could do at a very equivalent level of skill set. And so I've always been of the persuasion that marketing kind of falls into that skill set question, like, should you know how to market or not? It is entirely and uniquely different from the skill set of being successful selling. But what I have found time and again in this business, and this is more of a new business entrepreneur issue, is you cannot serve multiple masters. You cannot be completely optimal as a salesperson while also being completely optimal as a marketing person. There's probably some rare unicorns, but you probably ain't that guy, right? And so what invariably happens, and I've seen this several times, is people come in and they learn how to market, but then their salesmanship or their ability to sell reduces. And so something will suffer, is what I'm saying. And I'm of the persuasion that if you're an insurance sales agent, the most money-making activity you can have is selling insurance. That's where the money's at. You talking to clients and taking their money. So what we do, and what I decided to do in my business, is I decided, you know what? There's probably people out there who suck at sales, but are good marketers, probably better than I could be. So I'm going to pay them money so that they'll do it for me. And maybe in some, all else said and done, maybe they're 80% as efficient. But now instead of being 80% or 7% proficient at sales, I'm 100% proficient at sales. And I think I can milk more money out of being a good salesperson than I can ever out of marketing. Now, I'm not saying it's right for you. It's right for me. And so what I recommend agents, most agents, what you should do, especially in your first couple of years of this business, is just hire that out. Find somebody like Oscar Gonzalez. Advanced Agent Marketing also has lead management programs where they'll do the marketing for you. They'll source the creatives. They'll do all the testing. They'll manage the campaigns. And you just sit back, pay them money, and then you do all the work to sell what it is that they generate. I think that's usually a better short-term solution. I'm not opposed to an agent eventually learning marketing, but I think it's akin to trying to pick up Medicare within your first 6 months as a final expense agent. It's a great way to fail out. and run out of money because you're distracted trying to learn something that's actually really complicated to sustainably do long term. And most of us do not have the bandwidth to do complicated, performative-based tasks at top levels simultaneously. There you go. Thanks, Suzanne. What do you think about Agent Autopilot? I've done business with them for years. We've done a bunch of affiliate marketing with them. They do a good job. They're good people. Twiggy, what's the best way to source leads in your opinion? I think some sort of online lead gen is best. Kind of like what I was talking about. It depends on the market. If you're selling anybody over 50, old people are pretty much only on Facebook. A few of them are on TikTok, as far as the major social platforms. And those tend to be good mass market advertising mediums. So I would focus on Facebook marketing. If they're under 50, you may want to look at like a TikTok or an Instagram platform. But Facebook's like a good bet for kind of an older generation. And then as far as the best way to source them, it could either be self-gen. I've already kind of told you why I don't prefer that for new agents. You can hire a management company to do it for you, so you pay them a flat amount for leads at cost. I think that's a good idea. Or you pay per lead to a third-party vendor where you just buy on demand. Those can work well too. Just kind of depends on what your budget is and what you want to accomplish. Hey, Michael, how about IULs or just facts? Hey, Michael, all we do right now is just final expense. I'm from a strategy standpoint, I think it's really important to do one thing extremely well, because it is, I mean, for all that we do behind the scenes at the free lead program, you would not believe the level of excruciating detail that goes in to operations, marketing, sales training, recruiting. And that's just to sell a burial insurance plan. Nothing really too technically complicated. And I always kind of worry, because I've been there before. Like I said earlier, we used to do Medicare recruiting and health insurance recruiting. And it's just really hard from a messaging standpoint as a company to hone in on one style or strategy. But disseminating it across many, I think in some sense, heightens the risk that you're not going to be as effective. So we kind of took the medicine we doled out to everybody, which is specialized. So I'm not saying that we won't just be, or we will be final expense for the future. We may diversify. We've already started, I think, toying with term a little bit. IUL is definitely the hot thing right now. A lot of people have expressed interest in that. And I think there's just kind of a general interest in a certain part of the public for it. So it's not that it's bad. It's just not our shtick, you know. Yeah, could be though one day. Cody, hey, I'm with Lasting Mark and buying my own leads. Found your content after joining. How do I avoid part of being part of the 95% who fail? So, okay, there's a couple of factors here that are really important. And for those of you who are new here, yes, I would say probably 95% of new agents fail in their first year. That means out of the 37 people who are watching this live, that maybe what is that? 2 of you, if we're having a good day, will survive in the next year. That's pretty sickening, right? And instead of like questioning that, I mean, it could be less than that, but I don't think it's any less than 80%. Well, let's just assume it's like 95%. Like 1 out of 20 of you are going to fail. How can you not be a statistic? That's the first thing you should be asking yourself. Let me tell you how to the best extent, how to minimize your chance of becoming a statistical failure in this business. The first is it's a mindset thing. You have to be entirely and fully committed to this beyond just a hobby, beyond just testing it out. And you have to, I believe, and I'm only communicating what worked for me and what I've seen others as well work for, is you have to be fully committed, not just mentally, but from a time basis. If you want to get good at a sport, you do a lot of it because your body adapts to it and gets used to it faster the more time on task you do, right? Makes sense. Same thing with selling insurance. Beyond the mindset, the other things, pick a good agency. In short, a good agency will train you how to sell over recruit. has access to fair commissions, considering however its business model is made, whether it's like free leads versus brokers. Pick one of those that best fits you, and make sure that you vet the company that you're joining, the agency. There's a lot of MLMs in the space, especially on the life insurance side, really just on the life insurance side. And you have to ensure that you're not being brought into a position to where they're going to recruit you to then talk to your friends and family and sell them, not give you a piece of the action, and never really teach you how to find new prospects to sell to. It's a very common problem in this business. And it's not just vetting the main agency, it's the actual sub-agencies. There's huge differences between a sub-agency A and sub-agency B, which is like an own separate unit of the mothership company. They can have totally different value sets. One can be totally MLM recruitment oriented, one can be sales oriented. So it's important to talk to the owner and their agents or get some insight to how they work to assess that first and foremost. So once you do all that, and you should be closer to picking a good agency. That's the big one. You're never going to know everything 100%. There's always surprises and things you don't expect in any job, in any business that you get into. The key is having the right attitude. It's not having perfect knowledge. You certainly want to have knowledge. You're never going to have 100% knowledge of everything that's going to happen. But most importantly, goes back to that mindset. If you want to succeed in this business, you need to figure out a way to not get offended by rejection. You need to figure out a way to work when you don't want to. And a lot of this is knowing thyself, self-discipline, being coachable, and not being like a negative person. Don't blame other people. Always take full responsibility for the outcomes that happen to you. So that way you don't become a victim. You stay empowered to take action for yourself. It may take an IMO or two or agency or two to figure out where to fit. I mean, it certainly did for me. I never really had a terrible agency I joined, but the first one and the second one weren't my, long-term partners by any stretch. So, and that's just part of the process. And be committed to it. Survival is the last thing. If you just don't quit and you just keep going despite the difficulties, and there will be plenty, then eventually you kind of find some stability. It's a wild ride in the first couple of years. But for those who stick around long enough, they all agree, like, this is the best business. You have the flexibility and the lifestyle you want. And the capability to earn the income you want there is just amazing too. Hope that helped. All right, should I switch to a free lead team or stay disciplined where I am? Well, so Cody, that comes down to a lot of kind of what you believe and what your value system is to some extent. I'm totally biased here. I think a free lead agency is a better choice to start with as a new agent, because you free yourself from the mental anguish and stress that buying and spending your money on leads causes, and what scared money does, and how it affects you mentally, especially in a performance-based business like insurance sales. When you have somebody do all that for you and you can just focus on getting good at sales, like, it's a huge pressure valve release. So, and I think 90% of agents need that. And this is coming from someone who recruited brokers like Lasting Mark did since 2013. So we started the free lead program in 23. So it's been about just around 2 years now. So we've definitely been there. And I know exactly what the flip side looks like. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So I think most agents fare better with free leads for that reason. So if you should stay there or not, this is going to come down to, do you feel like they've got your back? Do they feel, and this isn't a Lasting Mark thing, it's just for any agency. Do they mesh well? Do you mesh well in the culture? Is it what you want? Do you see yourself sustainably there? Like, if they're a good agency, ride it out, ride or die, right? If they're not, for you, for anybody else, you need to be finding one that, you can, this shit's really hard anyway. Like this business is really tough. The clients, they suck some days. This business is tough. The last thing you need is some crap agency that's giving you a bunch of crap, all right? So you should know enough to answer that by now. But if it's not what you want and you're not getting what you need, look elsewhere. All right, here comes the questions. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Constant Crypto. I think that used to be them, right? No, not Justin Von Meijden. He runs a senior life services agency. Good guy. Trees of Arden. Okay, this will take a few comments. I bought the licenses based off of the original list that's in my startup wizard, but now there's a split list system. I have everything but GA in Oklahoma. Oklahoma wasn't a part of the original list. Do I need GA in Oklahoma before I can start? I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't think they're that expensive, but email support and ask to see what they want to do, and I'll let the team decide. I don't know. I don't want to say, yeah, you don't need them, and then there's this whole elaborate system I'm unaware of that depends on you having one or the other, but I don't think it's the end of the world. Just let them know and see what they say. Hey, Gabe, we have just been screwed on leads so many times. We got to figure out how to generate our own. We're also transitioning to virtual from field. Yeah, we do 80% Medicare. Do you personally know anyone doing Medicare or the phone successfully? Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, I've known a lot of people. I've been talking to a company that does 2,000 apps a month on Medicare for the past couple of years, all phone-based. If you're going to move from the field to the phone, Gabe, you absolutely want to get some sort of lead management program, or at least move away from direct mail. I don't really see that working very well in our space. But yeah, if you want to go to daviddufour.com, I mean, I'll tell you who to reach out to. I would reach out to Timothy Schuker at Advanced Agent Marketing. I'd also give Oscar Gonzalez at Scale My Social a call. Those are people who are really good at lead management. Both do a good job. Lead Heroes, Medicare leads, and Call Bad. Oh, okay, that's somebody else entirely. Yeah, that was way back in the day. I remember working those leads. Those were, I gave those leads to a guy. This was like 8 or 9 years ago because he needed leads quick, and I gave them to him. He was so angry. I think it caused him to quit the agency. He was kind of an asshole. Anyways, we don't buy those leads, though. They were terrible. Okay, do you have face-to-face agents or just phone? Hey, Schwab, we're now only recruiting agents who work the phone. We do not recruit face-to-face. I think in some ways face-to-face is better than it ever has been because the trend of what people desire is now 90% of my market wants remote sales. And I think remote sales is great, don't get me wrong. But that's less agents going into field sales. Field sales, I don't think is ever going to go away because some people just won't answer the phone and they won't talk to buy from somebody over the phone. But it's really hard to recruit to people to this because there are some natural issues with field sales that you don't deal with on the phone. You don't have to drive an hour and a half and put hundreds of miles on your car a day to just drive to a lead. You don't have to sit in roach-infested shitholes. You don't have to sit on pea-soaked couches or worry about your life being threatened. Dogs biting you and God knows what else people do. It was never really an issue with me. I only got bit 3 times. I had one pit bull that jumped on me as I was going in the door, and its snout and it's like the jaws that can like break bones was right up in my crotch. I hate to be so graphic today. I feel like graphic today, but I have to. This is kind of a problem when you sell face to face. You might get like eaten by the pit bull, and you don't do that on the phone. I mean, the worst that's going to happen is these people insult you in some way and they just hang up. So, but the people who can do it, it's a really great opportunity, but it's very difficult to recruit to at scale. Whereas telesales is a good opportunity. It's a great opportunity. And it's just more amenable to more people. More people are just interested in it. Frank, hey, what do you think is the best and easiest to use power dialer to get to business owners? I mean, they're all, I think if you want something basic, Kixie's good. I've heard Wave, the Wave dialer is good. I think Convoso's great. If you can buy 20 seats and be a call center, it's nice. If you can't, then you can buy my DIG dialer as a standalone dialer. It's very, very good. Just the big thing there is just connection rates. I don't know how calling businesses is from a connection rate standpoint anymore. I think generally speaking, businesses will pick the phone up when you dial because that's just part of their deal. Hopefully they'll find a client, but they'll also find people trying to sell them stuff. So I don't know if you need the same level of connection rate mitigation technology that Convoso provides, but one of those three is probably a good place to start. Can you please find a good agency in Canada? No, I don't know any. I wish I did. Just American here. Okay, can you, Trevor, hey Trevor. And the guys jumping in here, if you haven't liked the video yet, please smash the thumbs up button and throw your questions in the chat. This is my AMA Ask Me Anything session. Happy to help you with anything insurance, sales, marketing. Okay, what's a good comp level to start if you're getting into a free leads program? So we start agents at 40% for the major carriers, and it moves up to as high as 60% based off of production with us. So it just depends. I don't think, it really depends. I mean, if you're coming in and getting a wage, like let's say you get paid $12 or $15 an hour, you might get a 10% to 15% commission. That's probably pretty good too, because you have a guaranteed income that you're getting. So it just kind of depends. You know, I think on some level, what you should be concerned with is what is the long arc of my career. And one of the things I think, and I yell at my son about this, it's like, what you need to be doing as a young person or just getting started in this business on some level is accumulating a skill set, right? And one of the things I pride myself with, as much as I want my agents to work for me for life, the truth is, you know, we all change jobs and professions, and as things change with our lives. And you know, one of the things that's really important about, I think, what we teach at the DIG Agency is we give people a skill set that will serve them, whether or not they're going to work with us. So if they come aboard with us, they learn how to sell, they learn how to discipline themselves to a system, and then how to duplicate and scale that process. And the cool thing, the takeaway here is that, you know, on some level, you need to like learn the fundamental skills that will pay and provide at any point in your career. And I think learning how to sell successfully over the phone is critically important in the environment we're in. And that's why I push all the time. Like, you don't need to join an agency that's going to teach you how to recruit. Like, eventually your friends will stop talking to you if you burn them on the third or fourth MLM opportunity. But if you know how to talk to a client, overcome their BS objection in the beginning, and can keep them on the phone to take their money, that will serve you forever, because regardless of what happens economically or, you know, the AI or this or that, like on some level, a human doing sales is going to be a requirement. And I think we empower our agents to do just that. And I think that's important. So where I'm going with this, Trevor, is I think you should be thinking about your skill sets. Yes, I know you want to make money. I want you to make money. But you need to be thinking about, am I developing a set of skills that I can then leverage to the next thing, if there is a next thing? And you want to make sure that relationship with that company teaches you those skill sets. In some ways, that's more important than, is 40% or 30% better? Is a wage plus a small commission or 40% better? I don't know. Are you getting the skills to pay the bills? Are you getting the skills to develop a long-term career? That, to me, is the main thing that will serve you forever. Okay. Investing junkie. I'm a new field agent, door knocking, and my company gives me 30 age leads per week to work. I feel like I don't have enough activity. Where to get age leads until I get put on fresh leads? I don't know anymore. A lot of the age, like the good age leads that are direct mail based, a lot of them are IMO based, so it's hard to find them that will sell them to you. Those are the ones that I would recommend. I find that age digital leads past a couple of months, people just totally don't remember doing it. But if they fill out a form by hand and send it through the mail, and you can show them they did that, even if it was a couple of years ago, like that's an angle that's really important. Some tips: if you aren't fully active with 30 a week, you could do the T. I never did this. I never liked cold calling, but you could knock the door across the street from the lead and say, hey, I just saw your neighbor Sally. My name's David. I help people with their life insurance needs. Here's my card. I just wanted to introduce myself. Let me know if I can help you. By the way, what are you doing for your life insurance? Get into a conversation and see if you can do something from there. And certainly ask for referrals. especially emphasizing people who buy insurance from you. Like if somebody buys, who they'll refer to you typically will have a higher chance of buying than somebody who didn't buy and then they refer somebody. Okay. What are the best 20 states for telesales? I can tell you which ones I wouldn't do. That's probably an easier question to answer. New York is off the list. They don't have enough states. I'm sorry, they don't have enough carriers, and they're not telesales friendly. Besides that, I mean, it's really just wide open, and you're just going to get personal preference. Some people like calling certain areas of the country better than others. Some states are really, like, I know Puerto Rico is not a state, but you can sell in Puerto Rico, but their license is like $2,000. And I think Hawaii's is like 500. So it's like, I wouldn't call those. Illinois is a good state, but I think their license is like $300. California is a great state, but it takes forever to get your license. There's little nuances like that. But really, at the end of the day, there's just a couple of states like New York I just wouldn't call. The rest are wide open. The other thing, Andy, is you tend to get more mileage, arguably, for states like Florida, Texas, California, because there's so many people living there. But the flip side is that's what every telesales organization targets. So there's a lot more competition. So it might be arguable to say, well, I'm going to take states like Colorado or Idaho or Wyoming or Wisconsin, because those aren't necessarily as targeted because the population's smaller. Hey, Cody, thank you. Do you or will you ever offer one-on-one mentoring coaching? I did for a short period to do a fundraiser for my kids' football booster program. By the way, we raised $9,000 for those of you who bought a ticket from our training we did a couple of weeks ago, or one-on-ones. Thank you very much for that. Very good event. But normally I don't. I'm just not a one-on-one guy. But I don't know. We'll see. If I get bored enough, maybe I'll blast an email out and invite people to pay me money to do it. Full port for the boys. I was born with a rare disease with a life expectancy of 2 years. I can't get any significant policy to protect my family, so I plan to build a legacy for them while helping others protect their families. I'm just starting out. I would say go back and, all of what I've said so far on this broadcast is immediately applicable, like from vetting and finding an agency to figuring out what's most important. One thing I didn't talk about is which niche you choose. I'm an advocate of final expense because it's a rinse and repeat business model with a growing pool of prospects to sell to. It can be done completely remotely. But there's other jams as well. You can sell mortgage protection. You can sell IULs, annuities, right? So Medicare. Part of this struggle getting started is figuring out like what you're most receptive to, which niche just excites you the most, right? Because you have to have some level of enjoyability, not completely. There's going to be days where you hate this job. But you have to have some level of joy and fun from this business in order to sustain it. You can't hate it and then expect to have a lifelong career, right? So, but otherwise, go back and listen through some of the content earlier. I think it'll help you. Hey, Lucas, I know this is very difficult to answer. Is it very possible for an excellent agent to make $10,000 a month in advances only in our Freely program? Yeah, I believe 100%. I know it. I know it's true. Here's what it comes down to. Number one, you have to be really good. Most people don't make $10,000 a month because of reasons. Reasons largely being non-adherence to the script or partial adherence to the script. And just simply put, even if they do well on the script, the ones that don't put the time in aren't going to do it either. So here's like the recipe, the magic steps to making $10,000 a month, or at least having a fair shot at it. One, do the script that we teach. And it's probably true for every other agency. They probably yell at you and say the same thing. But really, if you just do the script, if you're with a good agency, it's probably already been worked on and improved like ours. If you just do the script, despite you may have reservations about maybe how you would say something, or I wouldn't say it this way, or I think this is, shut that crap all out. You don't know nothing. Do the script. It's representative of best-in-class strategy to convince a stranger to pay for a policy today. Just do it. You don't know more than me or our agencies. Just accept that in a humble way. And I say all this not to just be full of myself, but you have to humble yourself to the processes. And there's so many freaking people that won't do this. They think they know more. It's arrogant. And look, I'm all for you breaking the rule or bending the rules when you know the rules, but you ain't knowing the rules and come up here and say a bunch of crap that's not even in the script, and you wonder why you don't make any money. It's not my fault, it's your fault. Okay. So follow the script, number one. Number two, and this is the big thing. I say it all the time, and you know, very few people listen to me, but I did it myself, so I can speak to it. Like, work hard, put time in. Don't just get on the phone for 5 hours. Why don't you figure out how to get on the phone 8 hours, maybe 10 hours on some days? Figure out how to put in, oh my gosh, 40 hours on the phone. Not in one day. That's impossible. But do 40 hours over a week. That's it. You can have 2 days off. You might even be able to have 3 days off if you really grind it on the several days you do work. Joking aside, if you're good and you follow the script and you're getting results, all you need to do is just put more time in. It's that simple. But it's very hard for people to actually do this, because this is the long-term challenge. Is there are things in there's ebbs and flows, guys. Y'all can do what you want. We don't like yell at our agents to command them. They must do 40 hours minimum. You can do 15 hours, 20 hours. We don't care. Whatever you can do, do it. But I'll tell you this, if you want to maximize your income like you want to, you cannot, there's only so good you're going to be, because so many leads won't buy for all sorts of reasons, even if you're good. And the only other way to make more money is to just do more work. And we have agents in my agency that they'll sell a policy every 2 to 3 hours. And if they put 20 hours in, they'll have 8 sales. And that's good. That's a good income for the amount of time they put in. But if they want to get to that high level, they're going to have to double that at least. And that's where things get fun. But it's just like your dad used to yell at you, you know, just go to work, put the time in. It's the same thing in this profession. All right. Would I be able to work with final expense with you and still work? You could, Calvin. I just wouldn't recommend. I think if I were to take you aside, forget that I recruit agents, and you and I were just chilling and we were friends, I would say, look, it's hard enough to be really good at one thing in life. Whether it's a sport, a profession, a hobby, even if it's one thing, the amount of difficulty and depth that's required to be extremely proficient, it requires all of your focus. And anytime we talk to somebody that tries to do or be multiple things, they tend to be very stretched thin and aren't very good at either. And I would tell you this, I would tell my son this, you guys as friends, forget the agency. The ideal is to find the one thing that you are absolutely passionate about and believe in, and go 100% in. Go all in. And you're probably going to make, if you do that and commit to it, the likelihood is there that you'll make way more money doing that one thing. Even if you're stepping past Medicare. What about all the Medicare deals that are in final expense? Let's forget that. You probably will make more money if you just think about final expense, or just to think about the one thing that you really want to sell. So, okay. Thanks, NC. See? Calvin, what is the best way? 10 minutes left, guys. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. Throw them in the chat. Also, what is the best way to network and who to network to build clients? Yeah, so in our business, final expense, the way you network is by picking the phone up and calling leads. In other words, we do that work for you. Now, if you're selling something like, group health insurance, B2B, I'm of the persuasion, I've said that 10 times today, I'm sorry. That's the phrase of the day. I'm of the persuasion. I believe that anything done at scale is going to work. I think you could still walk in cold to businesses, sell some simple product like term insurance to develop a clientele. You can also show up at networking events. You can do all the stuff that you're probably already thinking of. Just do something and do a lot of it. That's the problem. Most people, what they do is they do a little bit of something, get nothing out of it, thinking it's no good, and then they quit before they even get started, right? So you just have to be fully committed and being willing to not try it just once, but try it 20 times before you give it a determination. All right. Hey, Sarah. I'm with the NAA. I'm at 80%, but I buy my own leads. I can go all the way to 140. Is this good? National Agents Alliance, I would highly recommend that you look at their comp structure. My understanding is that the way they do it, and I may be wrong, is it's 80% of something else. So class, a little math lesson here. If I'm at a 90% contract, but that 90% contract is based off of a 70% contract, what is my actual contract? What's 90% of 70%? It's 63, right? Somebody check my math. So am I really at a 90% or am I really at a 63%? I'm at a 63%. And I believe the last time I looked at the comp, it may have changed. I may be totally wrong. But the last time I looked at NAA, they were doing this percentage of another percentage deal. And it's this kind of like kabuki theater where the contract sounds good, but the actual output is something completely different. So double check that, please, Sarah, because absolutely nobody else does a commission setup like that. It's like what you're getting is 80%. It's not 80% of 50%. It's 80% of the premium of the policy, not 80% of the 50% of the premium. Does that make sense, guys? Be careful. Hey, life of a dealer. What are we dealing? All right. How do you feel about digital BGA? I'm great. No, I never worked for digital. I've known the owners forever. Jeff Root's a good guy. They're the first really major player, I'd say, on a broker side for final expense. I know a lot of really good agents that have worked there. They're very honest people. I can't recommend them enough if you believe in the broker method. If you live next to their call centers, I would highly recommend figuring out how to go work for them there. I think they got one in Charlotte and maybe one in Austin. I'm not 100% sure. But they're good people. Nothing to say bad. NCC ask, any opinions on Security National Life? Not really anymore. They used to be probably pre-COVID, a bigger final expense player. But they were just kind of decent. It was a decent company, decent people, but like, it's just an odd product. And they just kind of withered away. I don't know if they just stopped recruiting or if they terminated the final expense product. I think they went to a captive agency model where, they just got out of recruiting brokers. I don't know really where they stand now. I get emails from them, but we don't write them anymore. I haven't for years. So I don't really know anything current with them. Prince, New York has a lot of rules. They sure do, and regulations. Can agents in New York work or join your agency? You can. You can't write American Amicable, but you'll be able to write the other companies we have, so that's fine. So yeah, feel free to apply. You wouldn't work New York is basically what it comes down to. You just would buy, like everybody else really does anyway, buy non-resident states elsewhere. You just need 6 of them, and then you could sell into those states. Sarah says, yeah, depending on the carrier, it's 75 to 100%. Yeah. Yeah, the way they do comp structure is like entirely unique, to say the least. It's designed to confuse. Ideally, it should be very simple to understand what your comp schedule or strategy is. Like, you should be able to explain it to a 5th grader and them to be able to understand it. I find that the more math is involved, a percentage of something else, like, it loses people. And is that intentional? Unintentional? I don't know. You can be the judge. But what I do know is that that's highly unusual for this business. I looked into Unitrust, and you as well buy, yeah. It's, if you're going to sell anything remotely, the chances are approaching 100% certainty that you got to pick up additional non-resident licenses. That's kind of the norm. Okay. Any last questions before we wrap this up? Just as a reminder, I do recruit agents nationally. No matter the state, to sell final expense remotely. using our free lead system. It's a great opportunity if you're new to the business or aspiring, or even if you're experienced and you just are done buying leads, you're frustrated with it. We teach you how to sell, not to recruit. We're not an MLM. And my vision for this is to help people get into a position where they have a great opportunity to make a great income, work the hours that they want, and be in a supportive, positive culture and environment. If you are interested in learning more about how this works, what our expectations are to see if you're a good fit, you can go to daviddufour.com, click that link in the chat. I'm stretching now to put it in and type it in. Just go to daviddufour.com. There's a video at the top. If you watch that in its entirety, I know it's lengthy. It's not a short, but this is a serious business, and we want you to be seriously aware of everything. Watch that video in its entirety. You'll know by the end of that if we're still a good fit or not. If it's not, no big deal. But if it is, you can then come to a Q&A call. You'll see how to get there and ask questions. Very much like this, but a little bit more focused on joining the DIG Agency. We hold a couple of those a week. And then, or if you're ready, you can just simply apply. And you'll see about how to apply and the steps to do so. Go ahead, Joe. I'll wait for you. How many state licenses does one need? Hey, Schwab. 6. 6 is the requirement right now. We've worked that down from like 15 to 20 to 6 based on how we've designed the marketing. Is there any piece, hey, DePinto, of equipment software you recommend a new agent have? Sure. A modern computer. I prefer a desktop with multiple monitors because you're going to have applications open. You're going to have a quoter open. You're going to have your script open, your dialer, and your CRM. Like, you need more real estate, visual real estate, more monitors. So I would have 2 or 3 monitors, a modern computer system, something that's not too old. And this is really important with us. May not be true for others, is have a live Ethernet connection from your, I think that's the word, from your computer to your router. So don't depend on Wi-Fi. So the technology we use in our dialer is incredibly powerful, but it hogs internet resources, and having a dedicated line allows for a faster up and down speed. That's something you have to work with us. I would recommend it anyway for anybody, because the moment you find the best sale of your life, your kid's going to be playing Fortnite or watching Netflix, and then there's a huge drag in, you know, upload and download speed, and you're going to lose sales, and you're going to be infuriated. So play it safe. It's a business. Other than that, that's it. I don't, but Prince, if you go to the overview video, you can see it. Just if you want to skip through all the, you know, explanation stuff on there, just kind of scroll through the video. About halfway, you'll see a list of states. Joe says, hey, Dave, when you're looking at overrides, how much do you normally factor in for baseline numbers? I don't know what you mean by that. Can you quickly clarify before I wrap it up here? How do I factor in for baseline numbers? Yeah, I'll just give you a second to explain that. I don't know what that means. So yeah, daviddufour.com. I also have a free training site if you guys are interested in getting my script, my final expense telesales script for free. There's 30 plus hours of sales training, not just for final expense, but also Medicare, health insurance, annuity sales. We do live trainings there. It's a really good time, really good training. It's daviddufour.com/ISS. It's a free account. We don't charge for it. It's just free information for you. If you haven't already, join it. It's good. Joe, I'll give you a few more seconds here, and click the like button, guys, if you haven't already. I appreciate you letting me solicit you for that. All right, we'll give you 10 seconds, Joe. And then I'm out of here. 5, 4, 3. There it is. How much do you normally see in overrides? Oh, well, dude, that totally expects. I mean, there's no standard here. It depends on how your business is run. It's a great question. You should see more overrides running a free lead system than a broker, because you're carrying the cost of the business. If I'm carrying the cost of the CRM, the dialer, the leads, litigation risk from generating the leads, like paying staff, I better see a better margin, in my opinion. If I'm running a brokerage, let's look at it this way. Would you take on let's say you're at 120% contract. Would you take on a 10% risk for or a 10% gain potential for 120% risk potential? So in other words, if you're taking 10%, you run the risk of the agent running chargebacks up. And it may just be a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand. It may be tens of thousands if they fraudulently rip you off, which has happened to me a number of times. So I don't think 10% is enough for the amount of work that you have to do with the agent, plus having to manage them and distracting you from selling. You likely are still selling. I've always told agents, considering all of this, if I'm a broker, I'm going to take 30 to 40% on overrides because I can convey a system that I have proven to work in myself and many others. And that stuff costs money, and I'm not getting paid until you get paid. So that means I have to front load a lot of the labor and the effort in the business arrangement. So there's a cost to doing that. And people who understand the value of that will pay it. And then give them a process to improve their commissions over time so they can see there's a ladder to climb and say, well, I won't always be at a 90%, but I can see how I can get to 100 or 105 or 110 based off of production or whatever, right? So I think that's also important. And I think an agent who has proven production with you over time is safer to extend higher commission to. You know how you talk in this business, you talk about how you have to socialize the losses, right? Business says that, I think. Here you have to socialize the profits. That's the way to think. In this business, you have to socialize the losses because every agent you take on, you don't know if they're going to run up a bunch of chargeback debt and not pay it. You don't know if they're going to steal from you. And you don't know if all the time you're going to put into them is going to result in anything, right? Because it's a front-loaded business of support and training, much less on the back end. So since you don't know anybody that's coming in, you have to take a lot of money off of each sale initially in order to make it worth your time. There's a lot of MLMs that are convinced that they can take a 5 or 10% override. It's the stupidest thing they could ever do. And then again, it's an MLM issue more than anything. Yeah, 30 to 40%. Do you allow your agents, and I'm going to wrap it up here, do you allow your agents to set appointments and callbacks? No, it's a one-call close in this business, Sarah. That's the rule. Now, some people break the rule because they understand the rule. They know the rule. But the exception doesn't make the rule. In final expense, and I'm just speaking about final expense, when they say hello, I'm in the last final expense. I'm in the last presentation I'm ever going to give them. They never call back. If they need to think about it, they stop thinking about it and they go back to wasting their life doing something else. They certainly aren't going to think about buying from you. They already decided they weren't because you didn't convince them. So weak agents, I'm not saying you're weak, but if you know all this and you've been trained all this, it's the weak agents who don't take that, and they never make it in this business. There's not a single agent that I've ever heard of that does multi-calls and final expense, and they're making a lot of money. They're usually flipping burgers at McDonald's, not selling insurance in short order. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it. I did too. I will be gone for the next couple of weeks. I'm going to take the vacation of a lifetime with my family. I'm super excited about that. I will be back on the 7th of July. We're going to change the time up, so I think we're going to go a little bit later. I'm starting to rearrange my schedule a little bit. So I'll come back then, tell you where I went, and give you all the exciting highlights, and then hopefully answer more of your questions. I truly enjoyed your presence, and your questions are very good. And thank you so much for all your support. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe, all that nonsense. All right. Thanks. Bye. All right. Good.